Bonjour mesdames et messieurs. My name is Serge Ramelli, I'm a French photographer living in Paris, and welcome to episode number 13 of my Lightroom, Photoshop and photography tips. Last week we went to Hollywood and did a movie poster. You can check out the result here. The idea was not just to do a movie poster, but to apply a technique, a very paint draw-like technique that you have on the faces on Hollywood posters. If you have not seen last week's episode, you can go back either on the iTunes podcast or on the YouTube channel to check it out. This week we are going to get back to Lightroom. And one of the questions I get often is that today, do you need to do bracketing? What software do you use to do HDR? Just to answer this question, I have been doing HDR for many years and I've been using Photomatics for many years. But then something happened. Lightroom 4 came out. And when Lightroom 4 came out, the way they made the sliders really gets you the ability to get everything you can out of the raw file that you have. And the reason I was doing HDR was to get a dynamic range, so that we don't have a blown out sky, so we have details in the shadows. That was the main reason I've been doing HDR for years. And now I can do all that with just one raw file in Lightroom. It works if it's slightly underexposed, but you will see this in the video. And so today I'm just going to show you a workflow from A to Z of one raw file and just retouching on the Lightroom 4 and nothing else. And you will see what Lightroom 4 can do is amazing. This is the before photo and this is the after photo. So let's not waste time and let's go and check out this beautiful Lightroom 4 workflow. Okay, so this is a photo that I shot on a tripod just as the sun was coming down. This is the French Academy in Paris. This is the normal exposure, this is the underexposure, and this is the overexposure. I often shoot bracketing in the idea that I would maybe do some HDR with it or not. The thing is, since Lightroom 4 came out, I find myself over and over doing the same technique, which is basically just using the regular exposure, retouching the hell out of it to get all the dynamic range back, and that's it. I don't do any more HDR, or I get often this question, do you do a lot of HDR? Do you use Photomatics? I used to do that a lot, but since Lightroom 4 came out, if I get the dynamic range that I want in one photo, then I'm done. I don't especially like the HDR of Photomatics looks. All I'm trying to do is get the dynamic range. Now, what do I mean by the dynamic range? Believe me, when I came to this place, it was not looking like this. My eyes could see all the details that there was in here, and I could see the sun, and the sun was like, burning behind. It was not at all like this. That's how the photo sees it. That's how the raw file is, but that's not the reality. I'm going to try to get this back to reality. So, this is my workflow from A to Z. I like to do this from time to time, and just using Lightroom. So let's go over to the develop module, and the first thing is that I have this workflow that I do every time. First thing that I do is that I open up the shadows and I bring down the highlights. That's the first thing that I do. Now, why do I do this? Then it starts to look a bit like HDR. I do this because this compresses the dynamic range. Now we can see in the dark and we can see in the lightest part of the photo. However, the contrast is not very good. So right after having done that, I do the whites and the blacks. And the way I do it, if you follow my tutorials, is I press the Option key, move the whites the whole way. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry, I went a bit too fast here. No, before I do the whites and blacks, there's something else that I do. There's one more step, is I take care of the sky. You always have this situation where the sky is going to be the brightest element in a photo, especially if you're exposed for the sky, which is, this whole photo was a bit underexposed, but even being underexposed, the sky is still too bright. It was not that bright that night. So before I try to deal with the white point and the black point, which basically cares for the contrast, I'm going to deal with the sky. So I take the neutral density filter, the graded filter, and I'm going to go for exposure. I get the exposure to be down a little bit, and I'm just going to drag from the corner a little bit, not that much, oops, something like this, yeah. This is going to darken the sky. Now on the top of bringing down the exposure, that's the only thing this filter does, is on the gradient, bring down the exposure. I'm going to boost up the contrast a bit more, and the clarity, because I want these clouds, they were really looking nice. I want to see them, and a bit of saturation, maybe a little bit of saturation overall in the sky. Now check it out, before the gradient filter, after the gradient filter. You see, we brought down even more the sky luminosity. So now we have a pretty actually balanced photo in terms of, you know, anything which is too bright, which is bright is not too bright. Anything which is too dark is not too dark. You know, it's balanced. We have gotten the dynamic range back. Now we need to correct the contrast. So for this is when I do the white point and the black points. So pressing the Option key on a Mac or the Alt key on Windows, I go right and I go right until, you see, it's all black, until I see some little spots, some little pixels, which is going to be what we call the white point, meaning that point that's going to appear is going to be a point which is 100% white. There is no more information. You cannot go more than that. It's just a pure white point. Now, usually what I do is that I go with the whites until I see a little bit of pixels. I think that's kind of fine. And I drop it. You will see that the whole photo got a lot brighter. And we have some pixels here which have no more information, but we still have a lot of details in the sky. And now I'm going to do the opposite with the blacks. So pressing the Option key, I'm going to go left. And usually with the blacks, I go a bit further. Yeah, something like this. I go a bit more until we see a bit more pixels. So now I drop it. Okay, well, then I look at it and I find that I went too far with the blacks. I think the black parts is a bit too dark. So I just want to balance the color, balance the reality here. We're not trying, this retouching that we are doing is really to get back the emotion that was there. So I'm backing down the blacks, yeah, something like that. That's a bit more balance. Now, the photo could be a bit more contrasty. And this is when I add contrast. Once I've done the blacks and the whites, I add a bit of contrast. No, actually not that much. I'm going to back it down. I'm going to back it down a little bit. I might come back to it. Now, what about the temperature? Temperature looks kind of okay. From what I remember, it was not as yellow. It was a bit more reddish. So let's add a bit of magenta in this sky. I think it was a bit more like this, the sky. Maybe not that much, but let's add a bit of yellow to counterbalance it. So, you know, you just play around with the temperature until you have something that you like. Yeah, it was a bit something like, it was warmer. It was a bit like something like that. That I kind of like. Okay, now we've got some serious distortion due to the fact that my lens, I was shooting at, let's see what I was shooting at. I was shooting with a 24 to 70 millimeter at 24 millimeter, which is cool, but I was shooting up. I was shooting up because I wanted to get a bit of sky over the antenna. And this is, when you shoot up, this is where you really get this going like this and this going like this. And personally, I don't take it. I don't like it. So, but Lightroom is good for that. So let's go down here. And first, to lens correction, let's click Enable Profile Correction. This is going to correct a little bit of things, you know, make the photo a bit brighter and things. Not that incredible, but it's okay. Then let's go in the second thing, which is chromatic aberration. Now this photo, I know has chromatic aberration because I was shooting against the sky. Now check this out. See this little blue line here? And see this little red line here? That's because the sun is behind it and it always does that. So now, check this out. If I click on Remove Chromatic Aberration, already the blue line is already a lot less there and the red line is basically completely gone. But then the purple hue, which is, you know, this thing is purple, blue, I'm going to put it about the amount about around 10. And this type of hue, this is actually warm chromatic aberration and cold chromatic aberration. I'm going to put both at 10, 10. And now it's almost gone. Check this out. Before the remove chromatic aberration, it's going to take a while to bring it back. See how this is all red and this is all blue and this is all blue all around? Now if I remove it, check this out. It's a lot better. Now, that's one of the problems I have, is that I had to underexpose the photo. So if you look at it, it's a bit noisy. But it's not only it's a bit noisy, I made a mistake during this photo, is that it's a bit blurry in the borders. Now the reason it's a bit blurry in the borders, and here it's pretty clear, is because I made the mistake. See, this is pretty sharp. And if I go here in the border, here it's pretty sharp. It's pretty sharp everywhere, but it's not sharp. It's not sharp here on this roof. It's not a big deal because you can hardly see it. But why is it like this? Because I shot at 7.1. Now 7.1 is a big aperture, but I should have shot, you see, when you have elements which is close to you, like this, all around, you should shoot like at f13 or f16. This is the only way to guarantee that everything is going to be sharp. Because you put f13, you put f16, you make sure that you focus on something which is in the middle of the scene, and then everything will be very sharp. Now that's my mistake, but it's okay. It's still a nice photo, and still can make a nice print, because you won't see much of that in the print. However, we have some noise. Well, we are here at 100%, and noise reduction is just here. I'm just going to do the noise reduction around 24 or something. I don't want to take out too much noise, but just a little bit. And color noise, I'm going to put it around 58. There's not that much noise, but okay, now it's gone. And then sharpening, I'm going to bring it around, not 72, that's a bit too much. Maybe 50. I always go on sharpening between 50 to 80, and basically it's based upon the fact that there is a bit of noise. If there is a bit of noise and I had to go up to 24 on the noise reduction, then I go around 50, 60 to the sharpening. If there was no noise at all, you know, I had to do no noise reduction, then I go to about 80 or 90 on the sharpening. That's my formula. It might be a wrong formula, but it's mine. It belongs to me. Okay, so now, last but not least, but key step is the third panel in lens correction, which is manual. Now, first thing you do, I want to make this straight. I want to make this completely straight. So for this, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move my rotate to make sure that my center part of the photo is straight. I'm going to go right a bit. Now this can lag a bit. No, I'm going to go the other way. I never know which way the photo is going to go on the rotate. It's crazy. After 30,000 photos retouched with Lightroom, I still don't know if I go left, what's going to happen. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure that this photo is completely well centered. Okay, that should be about right. That should be about right. And then I'm going to go for the verticals. Now vertical is going to take care of this and this. So vertical, I'm going to go left with vertical and see what happens. Now it's going to lag a little bit because now I did all the retouching. So it has to undo all the retouching. Okay, you see it's not bad. This is going good, but this is not going good. And the reason this is not going good is because my rotate is off, completely off. I should probably have not touched it. So I'm going to basically play with rotate and play with vertical until everything is straight in the photo. And this is a 21 million pixel photo, RAW file. So it takes a bit of time. It's a bit lagging. I'm sorry for that. But believe me, I have a 16 gigabyte iMac 27-inch latest one, and it's still lagging. That's a very, lens correction is a very intensive. Okay, now that my rotation is a bit better, basically I keep on rotating the photo until I've got the feeling that the two lines on the sides are going about the same direction. Okay, vertical, I'm gonna go even more. I'm gonna go crazy on verticals. Okay, I want to see if I can get this straight, completely straight. Hey, now that's starting to look something. You see, this is almost straight. Let's see if I can do it a bit more. Because this is how my eyes were saying, you know, we are like doing retouching just to, you know, get back from the camera reality to the real reality. You know, believe me, I did not see these lines going this way when I was watching the scene at all. Okay, that's pretty much straight. I'm pretty happy with that. So now you see it created all this gray area here. So we're just going to click on Constraints Crop, and it's going to crop the photo so that we don't see these gray areas. And actually the cropping that it does is pretty good. It's about, you know, I had a bunch of people there, so pretty happy with that. Okay. One thing that I like to do a little bit on this type of landscape is while I'm here is to do some post-crop vignetting. So I'm going to go left here on the post-crop vignetting. And something like that. Okay. Now I want to check something here. I want to check how sharp it is on the corner of the photo. See how it's blurry? I think it's really because I shot at 7.1. It's a bit blurry. Let me check something. If I take out the profile correction, is it going to be sharper or not? No, it makes a bit of a difference. No, it doesn't make such a difference. You see, I really shot. You see, this is a bit blurry on the side, and I mean, the 24-70 2.8 from Canon is a good lens. I think I'm going to go back and try shooting this at f13, but boy, did I have a nice sky. Okay, so now let me show you the before and after, what we've done so far, which is here. History, I'm going to go back. Okay, this is where we started. Okay, no, this is where we started. This was the final, this is where we started, I'm sorry. Now, and this is where we are. Just doing Lightroom and just trying to get back reality. No fancy retouching here at all. Fancy retouching might start now, but now this is just getting justice back. Just how did the photo look at the time? Okay? All right. So now, let me see something. Okay, yeah, the only thing I think I'm going to do on this photo is maybe I'm going to add some whites. I'm going to brighten up some part because there are still some part which is too dark, which was not like reality. So for this, I'm going to take a brush, but I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to go to the right with the exposure. And here it's a bit too dark, so I'm going to make a white spot here. And maybe a little white spot here. Okay, maybe make this a bit better, a bit stronger, I mean. I really want to brighten this part so that okay, yeah, that was more like it. That's too much. That's too much, but it could be interesting, but it's too much. Okay, yeah, this time Lightroom is lagging. I did so much things on this photo that it's lagging. Doesn't happen all the time. It's funny because sometimes Lightroom 4 doesn't lag at all, and sometimes it just lags. It's probably heard that I was going to record a video and says, oh, I'm going to lag, I'm going to make him a joke to the internet. Okay, so now maybe here, I'm going to create a new brush and maybe add some, you know how I'm crazy about dodge and burning. Add some interesting lights here and maybe a bit here, a bit interesting light here and here, Make this a bit of a more complex lighting. Okay, something like that. Okay, I mean, I could go on and on. I could darken the sky. Here, there's a little spot here that I can take care of. But that's the basic idea. I show you again the before. The before is this. That's where we started. That's the original photo. And all we've been trying to do is use Lightroom 4 to get back to reality. A nice reality, which was a nice sunset in Paris. And that's the truth. Okay, guys? So, now, this is my website. It's called photosearch.com. If you click here on the App Store, this is a little publicity for my courses. You get all kind of courses, from understanding photography basics to doing panorama. Now, if you like this type of tutorial like I just did, I highly recommend you that you buy the Lightroom 4 training package, which only costs $26, and you get 6 hours of course on Lightroom. And basically, what I do in the Lightroom 4 retouching class, I just do like just what you saw, but on many different photos. About 7 for this course, the Lightroom 4 travel retouching course, and this one, which is called the Lightroom 4 retouching. I think I do this on about 5 or 6. So it's basically going from A to Z, just like I did, showing you all the before and after and all the tricks you can do in Lightroom 4. Lightroom 4 is really amazing. If you're watching this over YouTube, on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to my channel so you can get this free weekly podcast every week, every Monday. Normally I do it on Monday. Okay, so guys, let's get back to the studio. Alright guys, so I hope you like that tutorial. I will be doing this type of tutorial, very often, taking a photo and just doing Lightroom retouching from A to Z. I think Lightroom is a revolution. I've been using Photoshop for many, many years, and I find myself using a lot Lightroom 90% of the time. I always try actually to get the best photo that I can and just retouch it in Lightroom, and that's it. No Photoshop, nothing, no HDR. That's what I'm trying to go to. Whenever I can do that, I'm very proud, because I have the feeling that all I did was get back to the photo, the beauty of nature. Okay, so this week's inspiration is not a photographer, it's thousands of photographers. It's 500px.com. Many of you guys know this website. I personally created my own portfolio with 500px. It costs about $50 a year, and I think it's a great place. I get very often mails from people saying, I don't know how to do website, how can I do website? Well, check out the awesome status of 500px, $50 a year. This is my website, sergeramelli.com. That's my portfolio. It only is done with 500px. I can very easily add photo, take out photo, have many types of presentation. I love it. Okay, so thank you for following this podcast, and I'll see you next week for another episode.